Do we have any new people here today? Anyone here for the first time? Okay, could you stand and just introduce yourself? And you say.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm the first time here. I just popped up on my LinkedIn feed and a couple of folks in the room I know, so I am here. Looking forward to meeting all of you.
Come again.
Hi everyone, I'm Taylor Adams. I'm here with the Office of Congresswoman Alma Adams. It's nice to be in the room.
Good morning. My name is Sean Clark with Suburban Guardianship Family Care Home. Take care of veterans and non-veterans.
Thank you. We want to welcome you today. Hopefully you will come back each and every Tuesday that you're able to make it. We also want to welcome our online visitors who are actually online. So we do have an online audience. We have people who are watching also, in addition to being here in person. We always like to start with a prayer. I'd like for Gerald, would you please open us up with a prayer?
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you once again for this opportunity to be in your presence. Lord, we thank you for the assembling of this community that comes together each and every week to conduct the affairs of our city. Lord, we're thankful for the panelists that are here this morning, here to pour into us, to share information that we may use to benefit all of us, Lord. And Lord, as we do each and every week, Lord, we just ask that you just continue to bless these wonderful facilitators of this great program to bring positive and critical programs to us each and every week, Lord. We just ask that this program continue to grow and flourish. These and other blessings we ask in your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, I'd like to introduce our presenters today. We're very happy and thank you for making the time to come this morning to share your services with the community, not just here, but the ones online in Charlotte as a whole, because we do take this information and we give it out to our constituents, okay, our community. We have Miss Sonya Harper, and she is with the Criminal Justice Services. We have Mr. Edwin Platt, and he's with the Veterans Services. And we have Mr. Stuart Gary, and he's with the Historic Landmarks Commission. Is it the commission? Department.
Stuart, great.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Our forum runs from 8:30 until 10, and we will pause at 9:45 to take announcements. You can also give your announcements to Shay Abdullah over here or Steve, and they will make sure that they're on the website. And let's see now. We're going to give each of you a chance to give your presentation, and then we're going to open it up. We're going to open it up for questions, okay? You can send in the question. I think he's already sent. Oh, yeah, thank you. We're going to take a moment of silence, and what that means is that it's time for you to silence your phones, okay? So you can do that right now so that your phone is not ringing during the presentation. Thank you so much. If you have a question, this is for the newcomers. If you have a question, make sure you raise your hand, and that way we will call on you in the order that you raise your hand. Okay. Okay, so we will begin. I'm not sure which one of you want to start first. Ladies first. Okay.
Is it possible for Stuart to go first? Because I think he's got a meeting right after Mike. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Let me say this. This is really important because we do have a streaming audience. You have to hold the microphone up close, not here, but just close so that they can hear because it's being broadcasted. So make sure you do. So now you said you had.
Are you sure? Because I know Stuart's got a meeting afterwards, so I think you need to.
I'll pop out.
You sure?
Okay.
Okay.
That'd be
All right.
fine.
All right.
You can go
All right, well, they've got me teed up, so we'll get started. So I'm Sonya Harper, and I'm the Director of the Department of Criminal Justice Services for Mecklenburg County. And I'd just like to thank you all for having me here today to share a little bit about the work that we do at CJS. Closer up?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Is that better? All right.
It's for the
Online. Okay.
We can hear you fine.
Okay. All right. Thank you. But I just have like a few slides I put together that I thought might kind of help sort of walk through what we do at CJS. I always think of us as we're not one of the largest departments within the county, but we have a very large scope and scale, and we serve a significant number of people within our community. And so just kind of overall in our background at CJS, we were formed in 2010 as a result of the findings of a task force committee report that really kind of found that there was a need to have better kind of coordination amongst our criminal justice agencies here within Mecklenburg County. And so our department was formed, and just again, our sort of overall purpose is to have, cooperation, coordination, and planning amongst the criminal justice agencies within the jurisdiction. In addition, there's a number of programs and services that we provide within the department as well. Just sort of like our mission within CJS, we consider ourselves to be a data-driven organization. And so we spend a lot of time really kind of looking at data, looking at the numbers, really to help kind of keep a finger on the pulse of what's happening within our criminal justice system here locally. And we utilize that data to really kind of help drive different policies, initiatives, and strategies amongst the jurisdiction. Just a little kind of our structure, and I'll kind of get into like a little bit of what we do within each of these units. Within the department, we do have 6 units. We have business management, our recovery courts, forensic evaluations, pretrial services, reentry services, and then we also have a research and planning unit that sits within the department. Again, just kind of starting with sort of the general business. Again, our business management unit, they assist with just the overall operations within the department. So that team works with me with a lot of our strategic planning and just general functions of the department. Within CJS, there are 74 of us within the department. We manage a budget of a little over $19 million. And so business management team, again, just helps with just the overall general management of the organization. Within of those 6 units, 4 of those are what we consider to be public facing, and the first of those being the recovery court unit. And within CJS, within the county, we operate 6 recovery courts, and recovery courts have been around for well over 30 years now. They originally they were known as treatment courts or drug treatment courts. We operate these recovery courts in both district and superior court. We operate them in family court, juvenile court, and then we also have a specialized court for DWI, for folks that have been charged with DWI. And then also we operate a wellness court that works with those with significant mental health issues that have found themselves involved in the justice system. And really just kind of overall with recovery courts, the intention is to help, those folks that are involved in the criminal justice system to get them connected with services, substance abuse health services. And so this right here, it's really a kind of a court-directed program. So there are a team of folks that are assigned to each of those courts. So those are judges, the district attorney's office, the public defender's office is involved in those. For our family and juvenile courts, we have juvenile probation officers, guardian ad litem. And then again, we have a variety of different treatment providers. So those are folks that are offering both outpatient substance abuse treatment, residential treatment programs, and then specialized services for adolescents and then families. Most of the folks that are in what we consider to be the criminal programs, they're on active probation. And so really our intention is to help them get connected with services so that they're able to get out of the system. And really that's kind of our overall goal with most everything we offer at CJS is to really kind of help identify, what folks' challenges are, help them get connected with the services and supports that they need so that they can, again, get out of the justice system and hopefully not return. But within the recovery courts, I would also just kind of point out with like our family treatment court, in that program there, we are working with parents who have substance abuse issues that are at risk of losing custody of their children. And so with that program there, our goal is really just to help parents get clean and help them get reunify families. But again, I mean, we've had our recovery courts in Mecklenburg County. We were one of the first to be established in the state of North Carolina. And we've been operating these programs here for over 30 years. Our next is our forensic evaluations unit, and this team here is made up of psychologists and licensed clinicians. And this team, our forensics unit, this right here is where we are running most of all of our behavioral health, mental health programs for those with significant mental health issues. One of like the biggest services that we provide are our evaluations. So they're one primary one are the capacity to proceed evaluations. So these are for, folks that have, again, significant mental health issues, and there's really a question as to whether they have the mental capacity to participate in court proceedings once they've been charged with an offense. And so our team, we conduct those evaluations to make that determination as to whether or not that person is mentally competent to participate in court proceedings. If they're not, then at that point, there's a referral to help get that person, connected with services and hopefully to be what we call restorable, get them to a place to where they are able to participate in proceedings. We also, one of our other biggest pieces of work that we run out of this unit is our jail diversion services. And so through that work, we work to identify people who are in the justice system. So whether they are in our jail or whether they have cases involved in court, and again, they have mental health issues, and we feel they could probably be better served in the community with services as opposed to being held in custody. And so we work to identify those folks. We go into the jails, into the facilities, we go into the homeless shelters, if that's where they are, and do those evaluations to, again, make those determinations, like, is there, can they be served in the community? Is there a provider that they can be connected with? Are there other types of wraparound services and things that they need? Because again, we work to try to get them stabilized, get them, again, to where they can be in our communities, be with their families, and not be in carceral settings if that is not what's required. Because we do know with our mental health population, a lot of times when people are in custody, they decompensate and and they become worse. Their mental illness becomes worse. Now, we certainly also recognize that there are, we have jails for a purpose, and if there is a person who we don't feel it's safe for them to be in our community or they would be a threat to others, then sometimes remaining in custody is the option. And if that is the case, then there are also opportunities to access services through the jail system. And I will say, like, our sheriff's office has done a really great job in really building out the availability of services inside for those where being released into the community is not appropriate. Our next team that we have in CJS is pretrial services. Our pretrial services team, this team here, we're working with folks that have been charged with a crime, but not yet convicted. And so there's a couple of things that we do within that team there. One is that we conduct what's called a public safety assessment or a risk assessment. We conduct a risk assessments on every single person who is booked into the Mecklenburg County Jail. And the purpose of that assessment is to basically provide our judges with information to help inform release detained decisions. Because again, when that person is charged with a crime and they go to first appearance, the judge has to make a decision. Are you to stay in jail while you're waiting for your court case to be heard, or is it safe for you to be released into the community? And so those public safety assessments, the purpose of those is to again, help inform the judge's decision. And that safety assessment gives an indicator as to whether there's a risk of that person reoffending, should they be released, and what is the risk of them not showing for court if they're to be released. And so again, we don't make the decisions as to who comes in and out of jail, but we provide that information to help inform our judges with that decision. And again, we conduct those on every person booked into the Mecklenburg County Jail. The other big piece of work that we conduct in the pretrial services unit is supervision. So if a judge makes a decision for a person to be released, the judge can refer that person to us to be supervised while they're in the community. So oftentimes that piece there is really serves as an alternative to bail. Folks do have the right to post bail. If the judge imposes a bond, the person can post that bond. But if they are not able to do that and the judge feels like it would be appropriate for them to be, they could be under supervision in the community, they may refer them to us. And so in those cases, we facilitate that release of that person, and then we provide supervision for them while they're in the community. And so currently, right now, we've got about 1,400 individuals that we're providing supervision services for. And so those are 1,400 people who would otherwise be in jail. And again, while they're out, we're working with them to provide them whatever services is that they may need. Because again, we want folks to be successful. We don't want you in our system. If there's a way we can help you get out and stay out, then we're gonna do that. I will say, our pretrial services unit too, we are a nationally accredited association. We were the first standalone county in the country to receive accreditation. And right now there are only 7 programs nationally that hold that level of recognition. The next tier is reentry services. And so with pretrial, we're working with folks on the front end of the system. With reentry, we're working with folks on the back end. So with reentry, we're providing services and supports for those folks that are released from prison and are returning to Mecklenburg County upon release. And so our reentry team, we provide case management services and then referral services, again, to anyone who is coming to Mecklenburg County and needs assistance. We have no restrictions on the types of charges, the length of time someone, served. We have no restrictions on that. So any offense a person has served time for, if they are seeking services and need support, we're going to provide that to them. We work with folks who have been returned to Mecklenburg County for up to a year post release. So we do have folks, sometimes we go into the prisons whenever we know there are folks that are preparing for release. Members of this team you see here, they go into those facilities. Right now we've got probably at least about 10 state facilities that have high rates of folks that return to Mecklenburg County. So we send our case managers go to those facilities, meet with those folks that are getting ready to be released. So again, we can identify what it is that they need upon release so we can get things kind of in motion and moving before they're out. Again, folks are coming out with a variety of needs. So one of the biggest requests that we have for folks upon release is the need for housing. So we've established a housing program within the reentry services unit where we basically we kind of contract with housing vendors to be able to provide housing for folks upon release. So I would say this past year, on year after year, we tend to provide housing to roughly over 300 individuals a year. That's just for those that are coming out of the prison system. Employment is another big request. We have a lot of folks, again, that don't necessarily have a lot of plans or things really kind of in motion upon release. So we do have different employment services. We have relationships with companies that are considered to be second chance employers that we're able to connect folks with. Mecklenburg County, we have also what's considered what's called our MechWorks program, which works with folks, helps folks find employment, people who have barriers to employment, and of course the criminal record is part of that. So we work with those folks there too. There's also what we do at Reentry Services. We convene what's called the local reentry partners of Mecklenburg County. And so this is our local reentry council. So we have identified and again, pulled together community-based organizations that work with the reentering population. And so we are able to utilize them as a network to be able to refer folks to different services and supports if it's something that we're not able to offer within the department. One of the other things that I would point out that we offer through reentry, and we're in our 3rd year of this, is what's we've got noted here on the slide is the generational wealth pilot. That is also has been referred to as the supplemental income pilot and also a ramp up. Jenny's giving me the time note. Okay, I need to talk fast, move fast. All right. So anyways, with our ramp up program there, we kind of randomly select 60 people each year for a $600 monthly income supplement to be able to help folks, again, have some source of income and support to be able to help them as they're kind of reentering and reintegrating into our community. All right, our research and planning. I'll move fast on this one, Jenny. Our research and planning team, we are at CJS, we're responsible for the collection and the analysis of a lot of our local criminal justice data. And so through the research and planning unit, again, we built a data warehouse there. So we would receive data feeds every day from a number of our justice partners, in addition to our data from our programs and services. And so within that warehouse, we're able to utilize that data to help really kind of keep a finger on the pulse of what's happening within our system. We use that data to help inform not just what we do within our department, but also with our partners. So with our judges and our district attorney, the law enforcement agency, sheriff's office, all those partners, we're able to kind of, again, let them know, again, here's kind of what's happening in our system. Here's what, our data is telling us is going on. So that is CJS, kind of, the high level Reader's Digest version of the department there. So I'll stop there.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hey, who's going in?
I guess I'll get it.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yes, I just turned it off.
Can everybody hear me? Great. Thank you so much for inviting me to this forum. And I get the name, it is forum. Thank you. It's nice to see so many folks here. It's really hard to follow Sonya that was a fascinating presentation of all the information. I felt like it's a huge upload. I'm going to be a little bit more off the cuff. I'm not blaming Jenny, but I think I'm substituting for someone else, so I'm very excited about being here. But I'm just going to give you guys a general, I don't have the slide deck. I'm going to give you a general idea of what our department does, and just I think I'm just preparing you all for a more casual presentation. So again, my name is Stuart Graham, the director of the Historic Landmarks Department. A lot of people get the Historic Landmarks Department and the Historic Landmarks. Thank you very much. You're sitting there just to keep our microphones in our mouth, right?
Yes.
People have heard of the Charlotte Mecklenburg Historic Landmarks Commission. They've been around since 1973. We had a 50th anniversary celebration a couple of years ago. They're one of the preeminent historic preservation groups in the state, and Mecklenburg County is very lucky to have such a good institution. It was established back in 1973, as I said, by the city of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County, a joint commission. The county has been supporting the commission for the last 30 years, I believe. And I was one of the early county employees hired to support the work of the commission. And in the last 5 years, we've really established ourselves as a department. Sonya said she was a small department. We're a much smaller department than Sonya. I think we're the smallest department in Mecklenburg County, but we serve, I believe, a very important role. And what we're seeing here is, and I think my earlier apology was for not having a really great slideshow. I've just got some pictures of some historic properties to share with y'all to give the visual portion of the talk. What we're seeing behind us is the Kelly Alexander House on Senior Drive in West Charlotte. And this is just an example of the work that the department, and I'll get more into the department's responsibilities in a moment, that the department and the commission can do together. The Kelly Alexander House, does anyone recognize the house or is familiar with the property? Kelly Alexander was one of the most significant players in the civil rights movement in Mecklenburg County. I'm not an expert in, so I don't want to say the wrong thing, but this is an extremely important historic property. It was a site of domestic terrorism back in the 1960s when Mr. Alexander's house and several other homes were bombed by because of their association with the civil rights movement, including Dr. Reginald Hawkins and several other folks. Their houses were all bombed in one night. So it became spotlight on Charlotte during the civil rights movement for having this violence against people trying to achieve their rights. And Mr. Alexander, though, beyond that, he was the president of the NAACP in North Carolina. I believe he served or he was director of the NAACP in North Carolina. I believe he served as the president of the national NAACP. And he just was national board chair. Thank you so much. I need you to keep me on track. And so this is an important place. The house became for sale about a year ago. The family finished their tenure there. And what do you do with a property like this? It could have simply been sold on the market. A developer could have come in, they could have turned it into rental housing, they could have demolished it. But we saw this as an important resource for preserving the history of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County. The Landmarks Commission, which we work for, has the power to work to designate it as historic property. That gives the property some legal protection. And then our department worked with the Alexander family. They just put it on the market. They were extremely happy to hear from us. And I think that if y'all know David Howard, who was a former Charlotte City Council member, he brought the issue to our attention and said, we need to do something. How are we going to save this? So we started working with the family. The department did at a staff level. And we worked out a deal where they took it off the market and let us work on securing the funds to purchase it using the Landmarks Commission's revolving fund. They've got a revolving fund currently. The budget, the balance is around $4 million. That's county money that's dedicated for the purchase of property. And we were able to purchase the property. Now the county owns the property. We are working through a process to determine what do we do with it. Should it be a public space? Another option might be to sell it back to a private property owner, but with real protective covenants, with some understanding of how it needs to be preserved. We'll make sure it's never torn down. So we don't know where we're going to land on this, whether it's going to be a public space, whether it's going to be a private space. But the good news is this piece of Charlotte's history is preserved. And that's due to the combined work of the Historic Landmarks Commission, which has the ability to designate properties throughout Mecklenburg County. It's all the towns, including the city. Jenny's giving me the time thing, and you're letting me drop the microphone, so I'm not talking as much into it. The commission has the property to designate properties like this, and that gives it a special legal protection. And then our department is working in a bigger picture to help preserve all the historic. We're working to save the historic character of the county. So if we see an opportunity, whether it's going to be a landmark or not, we work to try to work with the property owner. We help with permitting. We might help them with loans or grants to save these historic properties. So historic preservation is good for the community because it's good for the economy. When you perform historic preservation work, that is local work, there's local jobs. It's good for the environment because tearing properties down is a terrible, terrible thing to do for the environment. You're wasting all that work and all that energy. And thirdly, it's good for the community because preserving places like this, and I'm not going to have time to talk too much about it, which is the Stafford Cabin, which is the last intact slave dwelling in Mecklenburg County. Saving things like this, which we bought this property also, and we're able to move it to Latta Plantation in North Meg. Saving properties like this preserves the story, preserves the history of a place. And in a place like Charlotte that is growing as fast as it is, saving the history, saving the character of the place is a really important goal. So thank you very much.
All right, good morning. My name's Edson Platt. I'm with the Veteran Services Division of the Community Support Services Department of Mecklenburg County Government. I am a U.S. Army retired veteran with 21 years, enjoyed it, had a business, took names, that's what we say. And from there, pretty much what I want to do is I want to kind of give you a highlight of who we are, what we have done, and what we're wanting to do moving forward. Let me just say this quote right here from Abraham Lincoln. It's a reminder that care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow, and for his orphan. Be mindful that at this point in life, we rose our right hand and we swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States of America to serve and protect everything across the board. So from that standpoint, I just want to remind everybody that there are veterans amongst us. Wherever you are at within the Mecklenburg County employment, within Mecklenburg County, within the state of North Carolina, within the national footprint, there are veterans amongst us. Not just veterans, but surviving spouses of veterans. Not only just them, the family members of the veterans, their dependents, their spouses. Not only just them, but the service members who are in the National Guard Reserve components who, in and out, still do their active duty between their civil services itself. So, just this quote right here: a veteran is someone who at one point in their life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America for an amount up to and to including their life. So there are, and I'm going to show statistics right after this here in a second, but we at Mecklenburg County, we are an 18-person staff that service approximately 52,000 veterans within Mecklenburg County alone. That's accounted for veterans to begin with. Not everyone comes to Mecklenburg County and then register with us, and or register with the state, and or register with the VA itself. So there's a lot of service members that transition out day in, day out from all of the military services and installations throughout the U.S. and the 6 major territories. So benefits and services. We aid service members, veterans, and their families by meeting their needs in accessing housing, healthcare, education, employment, benefits, fed, state, and local, and social enrichment, not all inclusive here, as you can see. So what do we do? So when a veteran transitions out to the military, they go ahead and say they want to go back to their home of record, or they want to go and move into a specific state, local entity. From that time frame, we're hoping that the veteran will come into a veteran service office where there's county level veteran service office, there's state veteran service offices, and there's federal veteran service offices. Then you also have the big 6 veterans organizations like the Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFWs, the American Legions, the Disabled American Veterans, so on and so forth. Those all organizations also support these veterans and service members as they transition out, to include their families and dependents. From that standpoint, as they come into our office, first and foremost, we ask them, give us your DD-214. That is their military discharge paperwork. That's the key form that all we need at that point to identify their character of service, how long they served, where they served, what type of accolades they had in the past, so on and so forth. And then from that standpoint, based on that, we can apply for any of these benefits. We can apply for any wraparound services, anything and everything you can think of, from education, entrepreneurship, employment, housing, medical, healthcare, you name it. We're able to go ahead and service that individual through references of Veteran Benefits Administration at federal level, and or local organizations that support these veterans and these family members. Not only on top of that, we take on a veteran, their surviving spouse, and or family members from inception, when they first get out of the service, all the way up to their burial, and then post-burial through their family, i.e. their surviving spouse or their dependents. So they're with us throughout their whole life, plain and simple. We service them in and out throughout the whole time frame, and then post-life as well. Here are my statistics that I wanted to show you specifically who we are. As the Marines say, the few, the proud, right? We are but the few in the proud veteran population in the United States, and from the federal side. So look at approximately 341 to 343 million people live in the U.S. since the 2025, right? Approximately 16 to 18 million nationwide veterans live in the U.S. and abroad. Barely a 67% ratio, right? 67%. In North Carolina, it's approximately 11.2 million veterans, or correction, residents that live in North Carolina, give or take the fluctuation, right? Of that, we have approximately 650,000 veterans that call North Carolina home. Now, be mindful when I say accounted for, and I say that because, again, not all come and register through a county, a state, or a federal level entity within moving to their new location. Approximately 1.2 million citizens live in Mecklenburg County, and of that, give or take around 44 to 52,000 are accounted for veterans that we have seen, we have dealt with, we have supported, and we know there are tens of thousands more that reside here in North Carolina and in every county itself. From that standpoint, the VA themselves, the Department of Veterans Affairs, allocates from Congress approximately anywhere from $300 to $400 billion annually through their NDAA. From that standpoint, the VA thinks to themselves, we want to award every single service member that comes out of the service to get them at 100% permanent total status, disabilities, right? Compensation, healthcare, everything, you name it. They want to get every veteran. So they've been allocated to go ahead and have that kind of funding. Now, there are eligibility criteria. We veterans know this, we know this. So as long as the veteran comes and sees us and they start doing the process and the paperwork, then that's where we start applying for these benefits on their behalf. And then turn around and we want to make sure that these veterans are taken care of, not just on the pension and compensation side, but the healthcare side. Okay. There are a slew of organizations that are in support of veteran services across Mecklenburg County that we want to partner up and collaborate with all the time. Not only that, we want to make sure these veterans thrive. We want to make sure that they have opportunities to do entrepreneurship. We can connect them with these organizations that want to bring veterans in and have a franchise, and or they want to start up their small business. There are a slew of opportunities at the federal, state, and local levels that we have been together working with the veterans and those organizations. Not only that, the key thing that I want to just say out loud here is we change lives. We change lives because we want to make sure that no veteran goes homeless. Nonstop, we're trying to work in getting housing fixed for them. We're trying to make sure no veterans go through the incarceration system. So we have programs that we like to work with the Justice Department, things of that nature. We have veterans that are coming out and they have mental health issues. So we get them to the right sources to get their mental health treatment taken care of. All of these factors we do day in, day out, nonstop throughout our lifetime here in Mecklenburg County itself. From that standpoint, as we receive these veterans and we support them, $441 million this last year from the Department of Veterans Affairs, we awarded veterans, surviving spouses, and dependents. One veteran can get 100% permanent total compensation at a certain amount of income at that point. Then turn around, that same veteran is going to be able to go and apply for a small business. There's the income right there that they've just been granted. They don't have to pay back and things like that, right? Then on top of that, these veterans need adapted housing, adapted car modifications. All that income is coming from the Department of Veterans Affairs into their pocket to make sure that these veterans are being taken care of. So millions and millions of dollars we are generating for our veteran population, surviving spouses and dependents. And therefore, that helps our local economy, our GDX, because we want all these veterans to come live in North Carolina, specifically Mecklenburg County. Hey, when I get to Mecklenburg County and when I retired in 2019, I said, man, this is a nice place here. There's a lot of adaptability. There's a lot of character here. And I want to definitely raise my wife, my family. I definitely want to raise my family. Thank you. There's always that guy, right? That guy somewhere. I'm that guy today. And so I just want to say that, we want to encourage all our service members. There are 6 major military installations within the state of North Carolina. Tens of thousands of service members are transitioning out every month, every year. And so we want to make sure that they understand we want you to call home to North Carolina and specifically Mecklenburg County. Let me show you this, the 2 last slides real quick. This one is the journey of a veteran's map. This is from inception when they came into the service, they served and everything like that nature. And then the middle one is the transitioning out at that time frame, trying to identify who they are. I know it's kind of small there, but so they have 3 phases. They serve, their go ahead and post-service, and then post-life, i.e. the burials and the surviving spouses and stuff. So remember a service member transition out. they have all these steps, and we're that one key link to go ahead and support them while they're in service, inform them, hey, here's your opportunities post-military service. Here's your current status, and then here's what we can do for you post-life. Medical insurance, burials, honors, all those type of things. Now, not every veteran across the board goes through a smooth transition and have a happy-go-lucky life after that. This right here are the reasons and common problems that we have. These service members come out and they have overwhelming shock and awe, i.e. they're accustomed to good order and discipline. Next you know, they're at the doorstep saying, what do I want to do now? What should I do? Next you know, they get into that mindset of, okay, between now and the next 18 months, I need to be physically doing something, and because that way I can establish myself. But at some point, they lose a loss of purpose. They have a loss of purpose. Then employment doesn't happen that easily for them. They thought they were the next best thing, and then they come and say, oh, I'm sorry, the next 200 applications are done. So on and so forth. So at the end, what I wanted to say is this: there are veterans amongst us. They've earned these benefits. They're eligible for these benefits. If you know of them, have them come see us. Make sure that they're being taken care of, and we'll do everything in our power to make sure that they have a good life moving forward. Thank you so much at this point, and I'll turn it on.
Okay, thank you so much. This was so interesting. Okay, we're now going to take questions. Remember that your question should be no longer than 30 seconds. So please limit your ask a question. Just ask your question within 30 seconds. And since we don't have a lot of time, if I can ask you to answer it in 1 to 2 minutes. Okay? And if you want to ask the question of one person, just direct it to that one person. Thank you. And we have Jasmine.
Good morning. My name is Jasmine. I am a community organizer here in Charlotte. My question is specifically to you, Ms. Sonya. However, Mr. Gray, have you considered, or is there a plaque in front of Mr. Kelly Alexander's house? Y'all considered a museum? And does your stats, your NC stats include homeless vets? But my question to you, so I am like I said, an activist organizer. We do a lot of criminal system work. Were you already, like the CJS has a lot of resources already regards to mental health, but I'm curious if you all have considered implementing a HEART program, or what will it take for a HEART program to be here in Mecklenburg? And the HEART program is alternative solutions to policing. You'll call the HEART program like a 401. Their response to your mental health crisis versus the cops. So like what steps will we need to take to get something like the HEART program here, especially since CJS already have mental health resources?
So we'll say that, we do have, within Mecklenburg County, there are like mobile crisis service. So, if a person is having a mental health crisis, there are some things in place that are available that have really kind of come into development over the last, I would say, probably like 5 to 7 years that do offer alternatives to police response for certain mental health crises. I will say, though, that I do think that there's definitely opportunity for more. I think there is more folks in need of that than what we sort of systemically have available. So I think, there's always opportunity, to have conversation about where there's opportunity to develop out and build out services. But there are some things in place currently.
All right. You can keep the microphone, son. It was a multifaceted question. My apologies, Jasmine. I don't want to cut you short.
We all had a question. We're just as important. Yes, my answer is quick. There will be some type of historic marker in front of the Kelly Alexander House once the use for the property is decided.
And yes, the statistics does include the homeless population. So we work with all the different type of shelter homes and all of the different organizations and identify them to support them.
All right, let me go back to the question. All right, Sonya, I actually have one for each, but Sonya, my first question, you spoke about your efforts with job facilitation and working with communal organizations to help with job placement and training. As many are having issues, many organizations are having issues in recent times with resources and sustainability, including the one whose board I currently serve. Are you seeing gaps in finding opportunity for returning citizens compared to years past?
I think there's definitely a lot that's changed, and I think a lot of that's, economically driven. we definitely recognize that, yeah, there have been some, like, particularly funding shifts, funding changes for a lot of the community organizations. What I can say, like through CJS, where we are working to, continue to support or potentially fill gaps, we do have partnerships with the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections where they are able to provide us funding. And we're able to utilize that funding towards things that people who are reentering may need. So if a person is wanting to access like a certain type of vocational training or wants to receive some sort of like certificate or some sort of certification for a certain type of job, we are able to connect them with an organization, and the department, we're able to pay for whatever that person needs. So if a person, we have a lot of guys that come out and want to be truck drivers. Like we pay for them to go to CDL school. We take care of the tuition. We have people who, may need certain like tools or uniform, whatever it might be for a certain type of job. Like we'll pay for that. We'll provide all that. But I think, again, we recognize that there are like challenges a lot of the community organizations are having, but in order to, if we have folks that are able to go there, like we are in a position to be able to help with any sort of cost or anything that when we're sending a person there for services. So I don't know if that fully answered your question, but I think we definitely recognize there is a change happening in the landscape.
I'm just trying to control my anger right now. From 2 points. One is a journalist for you, and one personally for you. So I'm going to address my question to you, which is not born from anger. This one is, what are the plans, because Charlotte Mecklenburg has a legacy of markers for previously historic properties. What are the plans or discussions in regards to a marker for the Excelsior Club site, and also expansion of a developer plan for instituting a maybe multi-level museum of history, civil rights history on the Alexander home site, and not destroying the site, but also building complementary services around it?
Well, the first.
Thank you. The first, the Excelsior Club. The Excelsior Club has either been demolished,
Yes, sir.
or it's in the process. It's gone. Gotcha. But that was done because the property completely fallen into disrepair. You saw the buildings leading. A developer is slated for that to replicate the historic character. I mean, they're actually replicating part of the building. So I think that the part of that development plan is definitely going to honor the history of the place. And I think that the name Excelsior, folks coming from out of town might drive by and not even know that it's a replica building. We'll be able to feel the character and the history represented by whatever goes there. So does that answer that first question? Yes.
What are the plans?
All right, we don't go back.
Okay, and
You get the answer yet?
Yeah, we would like for you to, I know some of you are doing 2-part questions, but we really would like for everyone who has a question to be able to answer. So let's please just ask one question, and then we can put you back on the list for a second question. Yes.
Good morning. My question is for you. When it comes to reentry, there are many barriers to success. One of the major barriers to success is healthcare. So my question is, are you able to pre-qualify the individuals before they come to our community?
So pre-qualify for
Medicaid. Yeah.
That I would say is like the continuous work in progress. you know, but definitely when we had Medicaid expansion in North Carolina a couple of years ago, that did open up the opportunities for more people to qualify. Because that has historically been a big challenge, is a lot of folks that were re-entering were not eligible, were not Medicaid eligible. So we did see a number of people who became eligible with the expansion. But there does just continue to be just challenges with being able to get people registered and signed up. There were some other challenges too that occurred, and I don't want to go too far in the weeds, but the way some of like the statute was in North Carolina, you know, if you were in prison, your Medicaid would be, if you went in prison and you had Medicaid, your Medicaid would be suspended, but having a suspension still allowed you to access some services, or the prison system to access some services on your behalf. If you went into a county jail though, and you had Medicaid, and your Medicaid would be terminated. And so then a person would have to come out, we'd have to start all the way over from square one. So some of that has been cleaned up in about the last 1 to 2 years through just some changes. So that's why I say it's a continuous work in progress. On the county, particularly through like our DSS department, there were a number of positions that were created specifically to help with like Medicaid enrollment. There has been some work of being able to try to get some of those folks to where we could maybe even potentially have them working with folks like in the jail or like within the prisons and giving me the sign. And so again, that is just a continuous work in progress, but it's, yeah, there's just been a lot of system challenges with that.
Hey, Sonya, couple quick questions. The pretrial assessment pulls what data? That the judges get, what data is being pulled?
So the public safety assessment, so we are the one that we calculate that. So basically what we're doing is we're pulling the criminal histories for every person when you're booked into the jail. We pull the criminal histories for that person. And that's not just like what you have here in North Carolina. We're also looking at like your national record. And so when we go through there, we're looking at like, you know, do you have a history? And if you do have a history, what type of offenses there? Are there anything that you have on there maybe was related to violence? Are they misdemeanors? Are they felonies? We're also looking, do you have like a history of, you know, failing to appear for court? And so we kind of collect all that information. The safety assessment itself, there's sort of like it's like a series of questions we kind of, you know, put in and fill out, and it kind of calculates a score, a risk score for both a risk to reoffend and a risk to fail to appear. And so we provide that information, to the judges. So it's sort of like, in a sense, it's sort of statistically, here's the chances of, you know, this person potentially reoffending or not appearing should they be released into the community while they're waiting for the court appearance.
Okay, my question is for Mr. Flynn. Well, I'll say this, that Kelly Alexander House is directly across the street from West Charlotte High School, for those of you who don't know that. But next door to that house is the Fred Alexander House. And I didn't know if you all, you know, he was like the first, he was also involved in civil rights here in Charlotte, along with his brother Kelly. So is there any plans for that house? I know that the Kelly house really just became available because Mrs. Kelly just passed away a couple of years ago. But the Alexanders have been passed away many years ago, and I don't know what has happened to that house, but could you just address that house?
Sure. We have to, so much of historic preservation is real estate. You know, the Kelly Alexander House became available, and so we could act. We can offer property under like for the Fred Alexander House, if that property owner wanted to see protections put on that property, we could ensure it's never torn down. We could offer them incentives for rehabilitation, that sort of thing. Currently, I'm not aware that that property is endangered or for sale. If we become aware that it's endangered, then we can try to act real proactively. But currently, we're working on Kelly Alexander's house because that was the one that was on the market. That was the one we were worried about becoming a tear down. That's the one we're trying to find the solution for. So I hope that answers your question. But you're right. Fred Alexander is right up there with his brother in terms of the important contributions he made to civil rights in Mecklenburg County.
Good morning. Thank you so much for coming. I wanted to say that a member of my family was a Navy chaplain and got veteran services through someone in your office named Daryl. And he was the chaplain of chaplains for the state public safety, the Western Union, western part of the state. But my question has to do with what is the status for you, Mr. Gray? What is the status of Torrance Light in the northern part of the county?
Right. Torrance Light High School is one of the last remaining, outside the city of Charlotte, one of the last remaining African-American high school buildings. It was the first high school building to serve kids in North Mac. And the Landmarks Commission acquired it several years ago. They could not find, or the staff could not find, even though we had dozens of folks look at it, could not find a new user for that property. Well, things have changed. If you've noticed, Huntersville has exploded, and suddenly there's a lot of interest in Huntersville. So there's a lot of interest in Torrance Light School, and the school's in poor condition. We issued a request for proposals back in, I think they were all due May 15th. We got several proposals. We got 8 proposals for redeveloping that property. When I say redeveloping that property, that doesn't mean tearing it down. It means utilizing the buildings that are there, preserving the historic character of the property. So we received 8 proposals. We've narrowed it down to 2 proposals that we're going to bring back to the community at public hearings in September. I think this is going to be the first, I don't want to give the wrong date, so 2 dates, 2 Saturdays in September, we're going to have community meetings where the potential developers of those properties will make a presentation to the community. And after that, that will give the developers a chance to hear from the Pottstown community what they want to see. And hopefully that will not only inform the community, but also might inform the developer in terms of what they plan to do to the property. Once they've had that community interaction, they'll be bringing their proposals to the commission, who will decide who can move forward with the redevelopment of the property. To answer your big question, we're very optimistic that we're going to see a good redevelopment happen there.
Thank you all for being here. It's been very interesting. I would like to ask a question about the veterans. I always say thank you for your service whenever I meet a veteran or a police officer or anyone I think that serves the public. But someone told me that they don't really like us to say that. And I would like to know if that's true or not, because I certainly don't want to offend them. And if not that, then what should I say?
Great question. I would probably guide you to say, the key thing that we've been wanting to change the mindset of our veteran population is, for our non-veterans and talk to the veterans, is did you serve in the military, right? If you ask that question, did you serve? That opens up their mindset saying, oh, you know about the military, and at that time frame, and then you can lead it, what branches. If they say yes, now it's an open dialogue. Now at that point, you can ask the next one, oh, what branch of service did you serve? What did you do in the military? That gets their mindset as you're interested. You are aware by my hat or my way of talking, things of that nature. So asking the questions, did you serve in the military? Then just say, oh, thank you for your service. Okay, yes, you're right. But at the same time frame, maybe inquire a little bit more if you would like, of course, because those veterans do want to talk, do want to say what they've done and things of that nature. So yeah, I would go in the more lines of ask the question, did you serve in the military? Okay, what branch or what did you do in the military? And then after that, then you can at that point just say, you know what, thank you for serving, because I already know there's but a few of you all that served, rose your right hand and served honorably, of course, at that time frame. So that's that mindset. Now, the veterans themselves, a lot of times they did what they supposed to do, or they did what they wanted to do by volunteering, or maybe a lot of times during the Vietnam, they were voluntold versus getting volunteered, right? So they were voluntold. And sometimes that generation doesn't like to be recognized because they were recognized immediately after they got out of the service. And so now, 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years later, all of a sudden you're thanking me. Well, what happened to thank me when I got out of that plane in my uniform and y'all said this and did this to me? It's understandable. The new generation, understandable for them. Our World War IIs, our Korean Wars, our Korean War, who's the forgotten war at that point. That's one of those where like, oh, you remember me, or you know of me. Oh, you know that I served in Korea. You know something about the Korean War because a lot of times, they don't really like to talk about it. So yeah, I would say they do appreciate it. They do want to be recognized. Sometimes they just don't say it in the right context or the right time frame at that point, but that's okay because as long as you tell them, and ask those questions, that helps us out.
Okay, I just wanted to interject this. We have 7 more people on our list, and we don't have very much time, so we may not get to your question, okay? But if we are good stewards of our time, we may be able to. If you could make your question 30 seconds or less, and if you can answer it in 1 minute, we might be able to do this. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. My question is to you, Sonya. What is Mecklenburg County's current recidivism rate, and what are you finding as the reasons for people reoffending? And finally, what are the strategies you think are most needed to stop people from reoffending when they come out of incarceration?
Now that was 3 questions.
We have a one question. So one question.
She can answer 1.
Well, I would say one of the things that I think that we know as criminal justice professionals, and I think research supports, is particularly with the reentering population, like those first 90 days out are critical. And when you kind of look just sort of across the board of people who are in the system, I mean, there are very strong correlations between socioeconomics and criminal activity. So for us at CJS, one of the things that we have done where we've made like heavy investments in are first with housing. Because again, if a person does not have a place to live, doesn't have a stable place to stay, that makes it difficult to get a job, to do other things. So we've invested heavily in the housing program. Like I mentioned earlier, we've provided housing over the past year for over 300 people, transitional housing, and then from there, working with them to get them into permanent housing. We've also, again, invested in helping people get connected with employment resources. If we can help them secure a job and have steady income, that decreases their likelihood for reoffending. That also comes into play with like our investment in our generational wealth program. Again, having a supplemental income or income supplement also plays into that. I am out of time. So, but yeah, those have been the things that we kind of see where there's the closest correlation.
And the rate? What's the rate?
We're having an impact on recidivism rates. I will say that. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep it moving.
All right, we have an online question from Danielle. Question for Sonya or Edwin. Are the specialized assessment protocols or diversion pathway, are there specialized assessment protocols or diversion pathways for veterans whose justice involvement may be connected to PTSD, traumatic brain injury, or other service-related challenges?
So I mean, I guess I'll start there. One of the things, with CJS, we do have a partnership with the Veterans Administration because we do have folks with prior military history that do have contact with the justice system. One thing the Veterans Administration has is they have what are called VJOs, the Veteran Justice Outreach Coordinators. And those folks are, they're at the VA to work specifically with folks who have involvement with the criminal justice system. So when we have folks that come through our doors that have prior military service, we connect with those VJOs so that those individuals are able to access those specialized services that are available through the Veterans Administration. The VA has also here recently started developing and implementing positions specifically for reentry. So we also have those partnerships with those folks as well. So when we have people who are coming out of prison who have had prior military service, we're able to get them connected with those folks through the Veterans Administration also.
Yes, on that back end, the veterans, we work with the veteran treatment court systems in some of the other counties as well and learn from that process. Not only that, our office, my 2 case coordinators and myself have access to the detention centers. And that is what we are able to go and talk to the veterans then and there and support them, because a lot of their eligibility gets suspended while they are incarcerated at that point. So we can try to get them beforehand, but a lot of the times we get them on the back end as they get ready to get released. So yeah, we work in conjunction with the type of justice systems.
Morning, I'm Gabriel Williams. Just one question for maybe criminal justice services and veterans. How do you approach a population in the community, immigrant population specifically, how that are deported before they could ever receive their services that you've spoken at length about at this point, and any of those benefits in particular? Because as a judicial intern, I've seen however many cases of defendants who've been deported before they can even approach and be in court. And I'm assuming before, at that point, receive any pretrial benefits as well.
I think you've been to my office.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you looked familiar, yeah. So a lot in that area has changed. I will say, at CJS, again, we serve the folks that are referred to us regardless of what your status is. A lot has happened, I guess, in that immigration space. I mean, so there was a time where we did see probably more folks that were, that were potentially undocumented that would have been referred that we served. Again, we don't have any restrictions on who we serve. If you live in Mecklenburg County and you're referred to us, we're going to serve you. We don't have as many of those folks touch our programs because of what has changed with immigration and just with ICE activity and those things that has had, and it has impacted the number of folks that we see that now are able to touch our program. So there has been a shift and some change, but across the department, again, we don't have restrictions on, your status is not a factor as to whether you can access services for us. Again, if you live in our community and the courts refer you, or the Department of Corrections refer you, then we have an obligation to serve you.
Yeah, basically on the veteran side of the house, good news is we haven't had anything of that nature come our way right now, so that's a good news for that one. However, that's the point where we would assist as well to let them know that they serve, here's their DD 214, things of that nature, and hopefully that they can get service and stay where they're supposed to be at. But at this point, we haven't had any cases like that, and so can't really talk too much on it.
I have a question up here for the HBC, Stewart. My question is, how many properties around Mecklenburg County does the HBC own, and typically, what does the transfer process look like where it comes?
Right, so a lot of people talk about designated historic landmark. They assume that it means it's owned by the Historic Preservation Commission or owned by the local government, and that's simply not the case. The vast majority, 98% probably, of the 400 some designated properties we own are people's homes. They're businesses like Camp North End, businesses like Optimist Hall, school buildings, for example. Those are our landmarks. So landmark designation is just a status, a legal status for a property, doesn't really relate to the ownership. The Landmarks Commission does own a few properties. We own our office, which is a designated historic landmark. We use that sort of as an example for developers and for property owners of how you could adaptively reuse a property. We own the Torrance Lytle School, which we're working to find a developer to take it off our hands. Our intention is not to own any properties. However, the county does own some designated historic properties, such as properties that are within the Park and Recs system. So a few historic houses that happen to be on Park and Rec property. Hope that answers the question.
Yes. How do you generally get the word out about your services? And will you be attending any National Night Out events tonight?
Who do you want that question?
To all of us. I would say,
It's gonna be quick.
yeah, I was gonna say CJS will be out at West Boulevard tonight for their National Night Out event. As far as advertising services, we do community events, so we do go out and talk to folks about what we do. We work with our public information team to get information out to media and as well as, other outlets. A lot of our stuff though too is also word of mouth. Folks have come, they've received services and they tell folks. I mean, so we get a lot of folks that just come in off the street like, hey, I had somebody who came here and you were able to help them with housing, help them with a job. Hey, here's my situation. So it has, over the years, it's become a lot more word of mouth.
If we're all answering this, we try to get the word out as much as possible that we're here to help anybody with an old building or a place that means something to the community. Not everything needs to be a landmark, but our department's working to save any property that has significance for the community. And the way we get the word out is through social media. We've got a large Facebook presence and a PI, Mecklenburg County's Public Information Office. They handle a lot of our stuff. We've really tried to make outreach a major component of my work there as the director. We need to let the community know in forums such as this that we have services to offer to help people save their communities or save their individual properties or just preserve the historic character of Mecklenburg County in general.
And yeah, we conduct hundreds and hundreds of events itself, and I only participate in, but we also lead in. And so from the federal, state to local, I'm the outreach manager, so everything flows through me when it comes to it, and we just put it on our events calendar and then advertise it across the board through the communications meet. So yeah, we definitely are part of the outreach programs.
Okay, we have James and then we have Ken. Those are the last two. So I ask you, please be brief.
Ms. Sonya, do you guys have a application process for providing agencies that want to join the network?
So if you are interested in being one of our, a member of our local reentry council or just a community organization works with our population. So yes, you just reach out to the department. There is to be a member of the reentry council, there is a more kind of formal application. It's simple to do, but yes, you can just simply apply to be part of that group. But yes, we keep a network of organizations. So I would just encourage anybody who's interested in working with us to just reach out.
My original question was, is there plans or talks about placing a marker at the Excelsior Club site on the best water treatment plant across the street?
We don't have a plan for a marker yet for the Excelsior Club. If a marker is going to be the best way to tell the story of the Excelsior Club, we'll find a way to put one. But as I understand the development of the place, they're talking about a lot of interpretive stuff within the building. So I'll commit that we're not going to let the story of the Excelsior Club be erased or be forgotten. But since we don't know what that development's going to look like, I can't tell you exactly how that's going to be. Does it merit a roadside marker? Absolutely. If that's what we need to do, we'll put one up.
Okay, let's give these the three. So much information in so little time. I mean, we could have each one of you by yourself for a whole presentation. So thank you so much.